Hey guys, so today I'm going to be showing you how I cull and edit my newborn sessions. So I go into the grid panel and I flag whatever I want. I'll double click and then flag. I just like to be able to see everything in Lightroom, and then I'll go in from there and just kind of flag, pick. What I do is I just hit P on my keyboard. That's just the hotkey for flagging. And I just go through and go one by one and see which images I like and which ones I'll edit for you guys. So once I'm done flagging and kind of culling the images, I go in and I just select flagged only. There's a little button there that just will show you your flagged images. And this is not everything that I would give in a whole gallery. This is just going to be her sneak peeks. So I go in and I edit. The first thing I do is I turn on the lens corrections. I enable lens corrections and I go into vignetting and turn it all the way up to 200, and I start messing with the exposure from there, because if I would do it the opposite way, then it might be too bright. So I'll go in and I'll start messing with exposure. I will always go into saturation and drop down every color that is not like necessary. So the greens, the blues, the magenta, the purple, yellow you have to be very careful about because yellow is in skin tones. But since I shoot white on white, I know that those colors aren't going to be my primary concern. So the yellows I need to just be very careful with. And then also luminosity. So what I'm doing is I'm making that color brighter. So it's opening up the color, it's making it more airy. You'll notice specifically if you work with whites that blue is a very prominent color. Also green. So there's a lot of color spill in green and blue, but that's just from ambience, like natural, that's how it happens. So next thing I do is I go into the basic panel and I'm just gonna go ahead and do some basic editing, basically. And that was so many basics. And now all I want is to create the tonal range that I like. So I just want a lot of pop, and I also want it to be backlit, but not so dramatic. Like I don't want it to look super blown out, which right now it kind of is, but my histogram is telling me it's not. So as long as it tells me it's okay, it's okay. And I know that parts of the image are going to be blown out because of how I shot it originally and because there's a lot of light coming in. And so that's where we are right now. And then we can also go into the curve and actually manipulate it ourselves. I do like to bring up my my highlights a little bit, and then my midtones as well. Sometimes I do mess with the blacks or the dark parts of the image just because I want it to have a little bit more of a punch, but that's specifically just like when the image needs it. It's not gonna be something that I need for every single image. Even here you can see that her hair is still very dark. The histogram is telling me that it is very bright in the image, so there is still points of dark though. Like you can see that right there, there's a peak of dark, but that's before and after. And then my sharpness, I just like to keep my masking up a little bit just so it doesn't affect the whole image overall. And sometimes you may need a little bit of that faux vignetting, and I just like to make sure that her hair and everything is not blown out. The top of her head is a little bit blown out because of that blue, but I will go ahead and fix that in Photoshop. But for now, this is what we're working with. And then we're just messing with the blacks. I will kind of look at that image over and over just to make sure that I'm not getting, like my eyes aren't getting tricked. And sometimes a good tip too is to look away from your computer screen and just kind of refresh your eyes, because white is very hard to look at for long periods of time. And again, just kind of tweaking everything, making sure that, you know, it's the best that it can be at that moment. And just kind of hand editing everything, doing what you have to do for the image to look perfect, trying to see like why certain things are doing things. Like at this point, I believe I was trying to figure out why her hair was so bleached on top, and I think I found out that it was because of the blue. And then also I like tweaking the reds a little bit just so that the image overall looks a little bit airier. So basically the last step I do before I send it out to Lightroom, not Lightroom, sorry, before I send it out to Photoshop, where I do all my skin toning, is I go in and I use brushes. So if you've watched any of my videos, I love brushes in Lightroom. And right now I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to turn down everything, and by everything I mean literally saturation, all the way down, the clarity down, and the dehaze down. So all that's doing is creating more of an airy feel. You can have it with the auto mask on, and that will prevent you from touching the skin tone like too much. But it will cast, it'll create kind of like this grainy effect, so you do have to go in and meticulously brush off with the erase brush, and it's not that hard, but it's just something you should keep in mind when doing it. See how I hit her hand and it's still kind of showing there, so I'm going to have to go in with the erase and still go in and kind of manipulate that way. And I do like this method more than doing it in Photoshop, because I don't have to like grab everything with the wand tool and then micro manage like the little loops between, like in her dress. I don't know if you can see, but she has like a crocheted dress, and in Photoshop I would have to go in and like meticulously add every single section, versus here where I just literally threw it kind of over the image, and then I'm now going in and I'm editing it more carefully. And so that's before and after. And then what I can do is press Command C, and then what that'll do is it'll copy it, and I can paste it pressing Command V on another image. So these are all the things that I want to be turned off. So those are off, but it's going to copy every single other thing. Yeah, so never leave your brush on, because unless you want like specific, like it's the same exact image and you just don't want to do the brush again. But here is Control or Command V. If you're in a PC, it's Control V, but if you're on a Mac or an Apple, it's Command. And that just pasted over all the settings that I had before. And then here I would just have to do like little micro differences, like if I want the darks to be darker. And like I said before, every image is going to need its own specific kind of twist and turn to it and edit. For this, I'm just doing little things, but the overall brightness is there, the overall feel is there from the previous image, which is great. And then all I'm going to do would be like using the brush, doing little micro touches, making it brighter if I need to, making it darker, and that's just from copying and pasting and doing a couple like small detail things. So now just going into the brush and just making sure that it's the same brush we used before, and then brushing it on. So we go through and we do that for all of these images. And I'm going to go ahead and fast forward this just a little bit so you guys aren't watching like me doing it in real time. And again, making sure you erase it where you don't need it. But I'm going to go ahead and fast forward, and I will stop when I need to announce something. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and edit this image for you guys. For this one, I would probably rather do the crop in Photoshop, because Photoshop has what is called content aware, and it's going to kind of extend that bowl and make sure that I have a larger image. But for this video's sake and for speed purposes, we're going to go ahead and edit in here. And I'm going to start by removing things. And if you've heard me talk about Lightroom and how the heal or the clone tool works here, it's a little different than what Photoshop does. So Photoshop, it's a little better. I mean, it's a lot better actually, but I mean, it's a great little tool to have here, but I do use it just so I can get rid of, you know, specific like eyesores. And what I do is I'll kind of go in and I'll start blurring things out with brushes. Like, again, I love brushes. So I'm just brightening the background, making sure that everything is kind of creating this seamless white kind of feel. That way you can't see those darker spots. And then the trick to this, if you're going to do it this way, is to lighten and lighten and lighten and use different like layers of brushes. I do have a video that's specifically just newborn editing in Lightroom, and it shows you how to get rid of like this massive eyesore. It's in my channel if you guys want to watch it. And now I'm just going to go ahead and manipulate the greens because her headband is green. So we want to kind of keep it a little more like real, but the green did seem a little too much, so I did bring it back down. And then you just kind of have to play with them and see what works. Right now that I'm like watching this in post, I'm like, wow, there's a giant spot of darkness in the corner. But you just play with the images. You can go back and you can edit it. You can edit each image specifically to what it needs, and that's what you should be doing. So right here, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna go ahead and edit the overall whites. So this is what I do. I just kind of throw it all over and hope it doesn't hit the skin tone. If it does, then I just use the erase tool. But going in, doing that. And if I ever feel like it's too stark, sometimes I do bring it down. And it doesn't have to be perfectly white. Like, I just want like a white feel when I'm editing. It doesn't have to be like super duper perfect white. But to each their own. And I would definitely have to edit the skin tone in Photoshop for this one because her skin is a little bit on the orangey side. And I would want, you know, obviously more of that creamy skin. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm probably going to fast forward this section because I believe I'm going to go ahead and just do the same thing to other images. For this one, I did have to, like I said before, you have to work image by image. So just making it more contrasty by alternating the darks to darker and the lights to lighter. And then sometimes I use the clarity a lot, specifically for detail shots. I like to use it as much as possible. I know I said I was going to fast forward, but this is actually kind of important. So then using that same brush and just making sure that that auto mask is on so it doesn't hit the hair too much. It is going to like hit the hair because the hair has yellow in it and it's thinking that we're targeting the yellow. So that's what we're doing there, and then we can go back in with the erase and with the auto mask on the erase, and it's just going to kind of help us a little bit not to get too much of the yellow back that's in the background. Little detail things like this, they're harder, definitely harder to do, but they just are so cute that it's worth it. I love these detail shots, so anything that I can do to make it better. And then you can always switch to black and white, and then you can kind of bring up the clarity a lot, and that way it's a little bit more dramatic. And then you can copy and paste what you just did from the other side and then make it darker. For like black and white details, I like to make them as dark as possible, like the darks. That way they're dramatic. But since it's such a light and airy image, sometimes it doesn't look like how you would want it to look. So for this one, you would have to like darken the overall image just to get that really nice like detail and hair. Like me personally, I love like newborn details like the hairy ears and stuff like that. So I do try to get those details to pop as much as possible. And this is one way to do that. And then you can obviously just crop to get it more of a tight shot and getting those little details. And so if you're not happy with it, you can always press reset, and then you can go ahead and edit however you like. The alternative would be to create a virtual copy, which would just be like right-clicking on the image and then creating a virtual copy, which is literally what it sounds like. It's a virtual copy. Now I'd be doing the macro lip. and I'm just trying to make it as dramatic as possible. And again, because it's not the same, it's the same lighting scenario, but it's not, we're not like in the same angle, so it'll always look different, and you have to still edit the light as much as possible for every image. And sometimes it doesn't work out. Like, see that image, what I was doing before didn't work out. And then here we have baby and dad, and we're going to go ahead and recover some of those highlights. And then same thing as before, we're just going to go ahead and edit per normal, how I showed you guys. And that's going to be it. I hope you guys learned something new today. From here, all I would do was export and go into Lightroom, Photoshop, and edit there. And that's about it. Alright guys, I will talk to you soon. Bye!